Hello, Wanyan world. The weakening of Venezuela's democratic system has contributed to a critical human rights situation. In Venezuela, exercising free speech carries a very high risk. Political dissent is criminalized. Property is taken by force, and independent media outlets are constantly shut down. With over 21,000 homicides in 2012, 96% of which went unpunished, Venezuela has become the most violent country in South America and one of the most violent in the world. Widespread violence, corruption, and violations of human rights are global problems that touch every corner of the world. But in Latin America, they continue to be overlooked because the situation in other regions is more extreme. But these are not grounds to ignore them. Liz and I are here to ask you to help us envision a different Venezuela, a different Latin America, one where the walls of government oppression are demolished, one where leaders value democracy and human rights above all. Liz and I have taken personal responsibility and feel that it is our duty to amplify the voices of millions of Venezuelans that simply haven't been able to speak up. Given this reality, we have worked towards defending human rights since 2009, with particular emphasis on protecting freedom of expression through protests, informative conferences, symposiums, voting initiatives, and online campaigns. We participated in the first international conference of Venezuelan students, which brought together young leaders from over 50 universities in 7 different countries to create a long-term vision for our country. I co-founded one of the most active Venezuelan student associations in the United States, which has produced very bright leaders. Liz has worked to bring international attention to human rights breaches through the Venezuelan Association, A World Without Censorship. She organized massive protests in Miami to refuse having political leaders re-elect themselves indefinitely. And most recently, has taken her activism to the United Nations as a Leo Neves Human Rights Youth Activist Awardee.
We have not achieved this by chance. First, we've mastered the art of negotiation. Our relationships must include a broad network of power brokers that can help us spread our cause. To shift institutionalized policies, we as young leaders have to transition from being a subculture that those in charge talk to being equals that are talked with. But even more important than that, is crafting a clear mission, and that's what we've done. Our goal is to use every tool to inform the international community about breaches committed by the Venezuelan government against human rights. We refuse to accept that authoritarianism, corruption, nepotism, and fraud are acceptable forms of governance. We refuse to acknowledge that an organized civil society cannot change Venezuela's history. Every tweet, every petition, every single protest and campaign that we have organized has contributed to stating that we will not stand for freedoms to be shackled by self-serving leaders. We have delivered this message to the United Nations, heads of state, academics, countless news outlets, and now to you. But the job is not done. Understand that the world's image of Chavez's 21st century socialism is not the country's truth. Venezuela has a vast reserve of oil and wealth, yet there is a shortage of toilet paper and milk. Know that thousands of foreign nationals are given citizenship immediately before elections just to ensure that they vote for the regime. And that broadcast media is forced to play government propaganda 2 hours every day. Did you know that Venezuela is the first country in the history of humankind that has inaugurated a president that is bedridden abroad? And just a few months ago, opposition parliamentarians were beaten while in session. To top it off, the current president, a bus driver, confuses the country's cities with its states and takes advice from a little bird. These are the costs of mild improvements in social equality. The cause? Ineffective leadership and poor governance at every level of government. The powerful solutions that we have learned at One Young World will be nearly impossible to sustain if authoritarian regimes continue to oppose and oppress their citizens, and it must be stopped. This is the first time that Venezuelans have had the opportunity to tell representatives of the whole world about the reality of the country. And to change it, we need your help. Broaden your network and use social media to tell the world about this, but use it to do good. 140 characters can abolish dictatorships and create movements.
Dear brothers and sisters,
can we count on you to be the change we envision for Venezuela?